I didn't want to be kicked around, that's why. And although I couldn't say it like that at the time, I still had enough sense at age 7.5 to know that Julie Baker was dangerous. Unavoidably dangerous, as it turns out. The minute I walked into Mrs. Yelson's second grade classroom, I was dead meat. Bryce, Julie squeals, you're here. Then she charges across the room and tackles me. Ms. Yelson tried to explain this attack away as a welcome hug, but man, that was no hug. That was frontline, take 'em down tackle. And even though I shook her off, it was too late. I was branded for life. Everyone jeered, where's your girlfriend, Bryce? Are you married yet, Bryce? And then when she chased me around at recess and tried to lay kisses on me, the whole school started singing Bryce and Julie sitting in a tree, Kissing. My first year in town was a disaster. Third grade wasn't much better. She was still hot on my trail every time I turned around. Same with fourth, but then in fifth grade I took action. It started out slow, one of those, nah, that's not the right idea you get and forget. But the more I played with the idea, the more I thought, what better way to ward Julie off? What better way to say to her, Julie, you are not my type. And so, my friend, I hatched the plan. I asked Shelley Stalls out. To fully appreciate the brilliance of this, you have to understand that Julie hates Shelley Stalls. She always has, though it beats me why. Shelley's nice and she's friendly and she's got a lot of hair. What's not to like? But Julie hated her, and I was going to make this little gem of knowledge the solution to my problem. What I was thinking was that Shelley would eat lunch at our table and maybe walk around a little with me. That way, anytime Julie was around, all I'd have to do was hang a little closer to Shelley and things would just naturally take care of themselves. What happened, though, is that Shelley took things way too seriously. She went around telling everybody, including Julie, that we were in love. In no time, Julie and Shelley got into some kind of cat fight, and while Shelley was recovering from that, my supposed friend Garrett, who had been totally behind this plan, told her what I was up to. He's always denied it, but I've since learned that his code of honor is easily corrupted by weepy females. That afternoon, the principal tried cross-examining me, but I wouldn't cop to anything. I just kept telling her that I was sorry and I didn't really understand what had happened. Finally, she let me go. Shelley cried for days and followed me around school, sniffling and making me feel like a real jerk, which was even worse than having Julie as a shadow. Everything blew over at the 1 week mark, though, when Shelley officially dumped me and started going out with Kyle Larson. Then Julie started up with goo eyes again, and I was back to square one. Now in 6th grade, things had changed, though. Whether they improved is hard to say. I don't remember Julie actually chasing me in the 6th grade, but I do remember her sniffing me. Yes, my friend, I said sniffing. And you can blame that on our teacher, Mr. Martina. He stuck Julie to me like glue. Mr. Martina has got some kind of doctorate in seating arrangements or something because he analyzed and scrutinized and practically baptized the seats we had to sit in. And of course, he decided to seat Julie right next to me. Julie Baker is the kind of annoying person who makes a point of letting you know she's smart. Her hand is the first one up. Her answers are usually complete dissertations. Really long. Her projects are always turned in early and used as weapons against the rest of the class. Teachers always have to hold her project up and say, this is what I'm looking for, class. This is an example of A+ work. Add all the extra credit she does to an already perfect score, and I swear she's never gotten less than 120% in any subject. But after Mr. Martina stuck Julie right next to me, her annoying knowledge of all subjects far and wide came in handy. See, suddenly Julie's perfect answers, written in perfect cursive, were right across the aisle, just an eye shot away. You wouldn't believe the number of answers I snagged from her. I started getting A's and B's on everything. It was great. But then Mr. Martina pulled the shift. He had some new idea for optimizing positional latitude and longitude, and when the dust finally settled, I was sitting right in front of Julie Baker. This is where the sniffing comes in. That maniac started leaning forward and sniffing my hair. She'd edge her nose practically up to my scalp and sniff. I tried elbowing and back kicking. I tried scooting my chair way forward or putting my backpack between me and the seat. Nothing helped. She'd just scoot up too, or lean over a little farther and sniff. I finally asked Mr. Martina to move me, but he wouldn't do it. Something about not wanting to disturb the delicate balance of educational energies. Whatever, I was stuck with her sniffing, and since I couldn't see her perfectly penned answers anymore, my grades took a dive, especially in spelling. Then one time during a test, Julie's in the middle of sniffing my hair when she notices that I've blown a spelling word, a lot of words. Suddenly the sniffing stops and the whispering starts. At first, I couldn't believe it. Julie Baker cheating? But sure enough, she was spelling words for me right in my ear. Julie had always been sly about sniffing, which really bugged me because no one ever noticed her doing it, but she was just as sly about giving me answers, which is okay by me. The bad thing about it was that I started counting on her spelling in my ear. I mean, why study when you don't have to, right? But after a while, taking all those answers made me feel sort of indebted to her, like he owed her something. How can you tell someone to bug off or quit sniffing you when you owe them? It's, wrong. So I spent the 6th grade somewhere between uncomfortable and unhappy, but I kept thinking that next year, things would be different. We'd be in junior high, 7th grade, a big school, in different classes. It would be a world with too many people to worry about ever seeing Julie Baker again. It was finally going to be over. Okay, the next chapter is called Flipped, and this is where we flip to Julie Baker talking. The first day I met Bruce Losky, I flipped. Honestly, one look at him and I became a lunatic. It's his eyes, something in his eyes. They're blue and framed in the blackness of his lashes. They're dazzling, absolutely breathtaking. It's been over 6 years now, and I learned long ago to hide my feelings, but oh, those first days, those first years, I thought I would die for wanting to be with him. 2 days before the 2nd grade is when it started, although the anticipation began weeks before, ever since my mother had told me that there was a family with a boy my age moving into the new house right across the street. Soccer camp had ended, and I'd been so bored because there was nobody, absolutely nobody in the neighborhood to play with. Oh, there were kids, but every one of them was older. That was Danny for my brothers, but what it left for me was home alone. You're going to like this book. They're both telling the story. You should check it out.